let's talk about how much you could be charging for your design work. And at the very end of this, I'm going to give you a number that will hopefully set up how you can continue to price your work and how to adjust in the future. What's good, everyone? My name is Brandon Hodges. I've been in the graphic design industry for about a decade now. I run my own marketing and design firm named MtHoodlum. I've been doing that for about a decade. I also teach graphic design at a technical college in northern Utah. I have a lot of experience. I've been in the industry for quite a while. I'm hoping to really just give you some of that knowledge and help you. These opinions are my own opinions. If you want to tell me to just screw off that you don't agree with them, that's totally fine. Look, this is what I'm doing for my students and any other designers out there that have had the same issues that I've run into in the past that I've been able to find problems for. So most of what I do is help students better themselves in their graphic design skills and in their freelance work. So like I said in the intro, I really want to be able to give you guys a number to work with. One of the biggest problems when talking pricing with students, especially when they graduate, is they do their own research and how much they should be charging in graphic design work. And they look at articles and they find videos and nothing gives them a number. They're really just looking for a number. So I promise at the end of this video, I am going to give you a number. Again, these opinions are my own. I did come to this knowledge by really studying Chris Dew and The Future. His videos are fantastic. It's really helped me a ton. And it's what I've based a lot of my sort of principles on, my values, along with my own experience. So again, if you want to tell me to screw off and what I'm doing is dumb and all that stuff, go ahead. I really don't care. So before all the numbers, the first thing I want to talk to you is either hourly or flat rate. I do not believe in charging hourly for graphic design work, and purely for the sense that you will be punished for being efficient, right? Clients, most of the time when you work within a time frame or you work hourly, they're going to say, I want this done within 50 hours, right? What if it's in an enormous project? Really, what if it's a massive project? Are they going to allow you to go over those 50 hours that they set, right? The answer is most likely no. I don't really know of a client that's going to allow you to go over hours that are previously set into a contract, right? But what if you're like me? I'm a fast designer. I'm pretty good. I know how to work things, right? Should I be punished for finishing early and getting to charge less, right? So hourly will punish you for being efficient. So always do flat rate. There will rarely be exceptions for hourly, but try and stick to flat rate. So with that being said, there's really two major factors that go into figuring out pricing. The first one, the big factor one, is know who you are and know who your client is. And what I mean by that is I work mostly with students, right? So if I'm working with students and they're newly graduated, they don't have as much experience as a lot of other designers out there, right? I've been doing this for a decade. I have a lot of experience. I've been doing a lot of projects. I've seen a lot, right? We get to charge in our industry for our experience and not necessarily our time. That goes back to hourly versus flat rate, right? Experience matters in this industry, and I really want you to remember that. So you got to understand yourself, where you are. Are you less experienced, right? Also think of your client. Is your client the bakery down the street where it's a nice family using their life savings to try and create this, right? Or is this a big company backed by investors? Factor two is really the big one. This is the one where you can really delve in and kind of get nitpicky with how you do stuff. And that's risk and value, not risk versus value, risk and value. These are two different things that go into this factor. The first one is value. How much is the swoosh worth? Think about that. How much is that worth, right? The swoosh is worth billions, right? There's a lot of value, and there always has been. There is the story of Phil Knight paying something like $36 to the designer they had, and she was eventually very graciously compensated, right? But it always had value, always will have value, right? This jacket is just material until you put the swoosh on it, right? Then it's something interesting to me. That is worth so much. So think of the value in your design work. Logos are pretty popular. It's cliche, but that's what we'll use, right? I mentioned the bakery earlier. Is the value of that bakery logo really going to outweigh the value in a lot of other logos? No, it might have lesser value because it's not going to be seen as much. Remember that the more a logo is used and seen, the more value it has, right? And that kind of leads into our second part of this, and that's risk. This is what I really want you to think about and remember. You as designers, you're in the business of risk management, right? You are taking away risk. It is a risk to design and get that out, especially for the business owners. What do I really mean by risk? Well, bad design will cost more, right? Think about what you have. You have your repackaging, your rebranding, all that stuff. You got to get new marketing material, right? Bad design, if you screw that up, you're suddenly paying extra to redo all of that. This is kind of how you sell yourself. You got to remember that you're the expert and you're going to minimize risk. So tell them you get what you pay for. They could easily go to Fiverr and get a $5 logo, but that logo is going to suck and not work on all these different things a logo needs to work on. Think about it. Packaging, physical material, Instagram profile picture, billboard ads, anything, TV space, shirts, anything. Your design has to work on all of that. So if you get some crappy $5 logo that doesn't work for all of that, that's risk. You get what you pay for. This is how you sell yourself. Remember, you're in the business of risk management. That's why you cost that much, right? All of this kind of leads into a principle of you really don't need to justify your pricing. So what I mean by that is, like, if someone asks you, well, why does it cost this much? It's how much it costs. That's what it is, right? The more you try and oversell yourself, the more you might leave yourself open to get screwed over, right? What do I really mean by this? If you justify and break down your pricing, you will work for free. Look at this over here. If you individually list all your pricing, people are going to start getting nitpicky. Now remember, you're good designers. You are a good designer. You are going to do what it takes to make good designs, right? You're not going to cut corners. You're not going to screw someone over, right? So they're going to look at this list and they're going to say, $400 for colors? Why am I paying $400 for colors? That's dumb. Just make it blue and green. There's like a trillion combinations of blue and green. They're not going to be happy with whatever you just choose if you just choose blue or green, right? Us as good designers, we are going to put in the work to figure out what colors work very well for our clients, right? So even if they say, I don't want to pay for colors, just make it blue and green, you're still going to put in the work to make good colors and make it fit. Now you're just getting paid $400 less, right? That's what I mean by justifying and breaking down your pricing. You are one package. You are the one-stop shop. You are going to do everything within your flat rate, right? You know who you are, you know who the client is, you're gonna build value and you're gonna minimize risk in this package. So this is something I did with my students. I created fake companies and had them kind of guess what their pricing would be. Birdie Bay is something I came up with. Imagine a big compound, 4 or 5 rooms or bays, places where people can have bachelor parties, right? Maybe a bar, events, big, right? There's an investor behind them. These are experienced guys going out. People are going to know this place, right? So think about it. How much would you charge? So what I tell my students is, again, think of where you are, who the client is, value, and risk, right? So me personally, been doing this for a decade. I have a lot of experience. I've worked with bigger clients like this. For me personally, understanding the value and risk that I'm getting myself into, I would probably charge no less than 10 grand for an entire branding package. Similar to what we mentioned earlier when I did the price breakdown, just everything you need for visual identity, brand identity, any sort of marketing material, physical material, anything like that, I'd probably start at about 10 grand, maybe more. Now for my students who just graduate, remember most of my students, some of them do get pretty good experience, but most of them are starting on a fresh slate. That doesn't change the value and risk at all. We crank out good students, and there still is that value built into this company. So I would normally tell my students, for them, $1,500, $2 grand is probably pretty appropriate for a company of this size for a brand new clean slate student. The next one we have is the nail files, right? This is a fake podcast. I want you to imagine just small business down the street doing nails, a couple of girls getting together talking about the funny things that happen in their industry, right? What would you charge for a company like this? Remember, it's just a podcast. Unless they get big, it's probably not going to be seen a lot. There's probably not a lot of printed material going in it. Value's probably a little less. Risk is probably a little less, right? So when I asked my students to start shouting out prices for what they would charge for this, some of them said $400, $500, $200, right? And I think for a student, that's all pretty appropriate, especially if you're starting off $100, $200. It's gonna go fast. It's probably gonna take you a couple of hours, really. It shouldn't take any longer than that. Me personally, I have a wife and daughter. They like getting their nails done. They like going to the salon. I would probably just trade them services, honestly. Again, I said I can work pretty fast. I could get them something that doesn't need a lot of revisions, or maybe I write it into the contract that, hey, you get maybe one revision, or we could set up a meeting to really nail this down. This is a smaller company, so I can kind of trade value and then get something that they'd want, and I'm gonna make my wife and daughter real happy. So again, I said I can give you a number if you're a new designer, if you're starting off something brand new, right? Say you're a student that just graduated, just getting into freelance work, just getting into your first client, right? I think all design work, if you're doing it for the right company, start at about $1,000 and see where you could go from there. That's my number, $1,000. And you know, it could be less, could be a lot more, but use what we taught and build off of that if you're a new designer. Always be confident, always value yourself. People don't like to take graphic design work seriously and they undervalue it. Build value, sell yourselves. Thanks again for joining me. Again, my name is Brandon. I've been working at this for a long time. Please like and subscribe. You could find me on Instagram and Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I'm on all the places. Just look me up. I'm out there. I'm a good marketer. Thanks for joining me.